Hi everyone and welcome back to SwitchUp, and to a game I'm actually quite excited about, but this time last week didn't have a clue about. It's called Vernal Edge. It was kickstarted back in May of 2020 by Matthew Martinez, and I believe it's made in Game Maker Studio 2. The full team, consisting of Matthew Martinez and Alex McCasey, form Penguin Team, who previously worked on mods for different games, as well as other smaller titles, but this was their big chance to create something much more ambitious. And before I say anything else, I am very pleased to say they have succeeded. But is it one more to make its way to the edge of your backlog? Well, my name is Mark Walker, welcome back to the channel. Now, let's find out. The narrative begins with the hero, Vernal, flying across the sky in this unusual floating kingdom. She's in search of her long-lost father to enact some form of revenge for something we're not entirely sure of. She soon meets Chervil, who is an unusual mechanoid creature with the soul of a human, and who joins you for much of your adventure, acting as companion as well as narrator. The story has a number of interesting twists and turns, with NPCs within the world offering further exposition, as well as information about a strange church which has popped up within the region. Dialogue is generally snappy and to the point, and the stage is set quickly for your journey. Throughout your adventure you'll visit several islands, each with its own history and lore, and with varying degrees of this being discoverable by the player. When it comes to gameplay and controls, we're in for a bit of a treat. Now, on the surface of it, I thought Vernal Edge was a simple Metroidvania following the usual tropes. Move through an area, get a map, kill a few enemies, and then move to the next with a new skill. But things are quite different here. Right off the bat, you have your airship. This allows you to travel within a PlayStation 32-bit style 3D environment, moving freely from island to island. You can boost to move quickly, and each of the islands is given a threat level. When you touch down, you can go in any which direction you choose. And in that regard, it's classic Metroidvania. Vernal is an incredibly well-weighted character, and the controls are very easy to pick up. Jumps are precise, input latency is at a bare minimum, and as you acquire new skills, the overall pacing of the platforming, as well as the precision provided, is incredibly impressive. Now, throughout every level, there are lots of hidden secrets. Walls that can be knocked down, areas off the beaten path that are more difficult to get to, and you're constantly rewarded with treasure chests, but also more important magic items, permanent health pickups, and other such trinkets. To facilitate this, you'll have your standard dash move, a jump as well as wall jump, and others will unlock as you progress, such as being able to smash down through floors to reach previously inaccessible areas. There are a number of save checkpoints dotted across each island, although I did feel that these were a little too sparse for my liking. The reason being, if you die, you'll come all the way back to that save point and have to defeat any of the enemies you previously haven't. Now, on this note, I think it's a design choice, and you do have 3 different difficulty modes from the get-go, so you can tailor the overall difficulty to suit your needs, but it still feels like it needs some refinement. Now, each island has different enemies. You have your basic enemies, which will be moving around. These tend to be slow moving, very low threat, and once killed, they'll actually restore your health. Then, in a similar style to something like Guacamelee, there are locked in battles. And it's the combat that I think we really need to go into, because it's what makes this stand out. Clearly, the developers took inspiration from 3D action games, the likes of Devil May Cry, and tried to convert that to a 2D environment to some great success. Not only do you have your basic attacks, the Pulse Edge, the sword that you carry with you, allows for a special pulse attack. If you throw it and it hits the enemy, you'll see an icon above them. If you press the same button, you can cross huge distances of the map in an instant and inflict multiple hit combos, keeping them off the ground unable to land and allowing you to inflict devastating damage. This move also is the healing mechanic, so carrying it out at the right time is essential for surviving those more difficult fights. But it's not just as easy as that, as executing this move will make you vulnerable to incoming attacks. It's a brilliant system when you get to grips with it and then you throw in the other mechanics. You can block almost all attacks. If you block at the right time, with the window being quite large and forgiving, you can then hit back with a counter move move to try and break down your enemy's poise. Poise determines their current state. If all of their poise is knocked off and it's marked with these blue symbols, they'll be staggered and unable to respond for a short time, allowing you to wail on them with various attacks. And it's also the perfect opportunity to use that pulse edge move to gain back some of your health. The problem with these fights though is there are various enemies with different movesets, all doing their damnedest to separate you from your life. You can dash through them as well to dodge damage, and then there are your spells. Now spells are assigned to different directional buttons and A and can be incredibly useful. You can find new ones as well as buy them, and the overall package of combat is spot on. Now I alluded to this before, but when you die in these arena environments, you're sent all the way back to your checkpoint, and sometimes that's just a bit too far for my liking. Personally, I think they might have been better off saving after every one of those instances. It's a bit of a Soulsvania trope that doesn't add a great deal in terms of the overall enjoyment for me. With all that said, the combat really does need to be appreciated. It's exceptionally well refined, very enjoyable, with each enemy type, be it ground-based or aerial, requiring an entirely unique method to dispatch. And I didn't even mention charge attacks, which are a quick and easy way of breaking down their poise. So we have excellent traversal, a really nice system of moving from island to island, slick fast combat, and a decent storyline. It is the makeup for a very good Metroidvania, but how does the leveling system work? Well, the character doesn't directly level in the traditional sense. Instead, you'll find memory fragments. These are smaller upgrades which can be slotted into your character with a specific set total of points available. They're similar in that regard to the upgrades you get in Hollow Knight, and they allow you to tweak your overall build, being constrained by the maximum points total. And you can mix and match these freely without having to go anywhere in particular. As well as the minor gripe about the checkpoint system, I'd also like to point out that from the get-go you won't have access to a fast travel mechanic. This actually became a problem when I found myself stuck. I couldn't get back to the ledge that I was on, and even killing myself meant that I would just respawn at that same. As it was, if you exit out to the main menu, you'll respawn at that last checkpoint. As far as story and gameplay goes, I've been very surprised by Vernal Edge. I had zero hopes for it, and it's incredibly fun. What it doesn't do is avoid some frustration in getting lost, as each area requires a map, and sometimes these aren't as easy to find as you'd hope, but it has a sense of freedom, self-confidence and speed, which, for me at least, make this feel a bit special. Story and gameplay score 18 out of 20. The controls are generally excellent, but they really could use the ability to look up and down to see if there's ledges below or above you, as occasionally you may jump down to find yourself respawning as it was actually the edge of the map. Controls also score 18 out of 20. Visually, we've got a nice mixture of hand-drawn pixel art, with each island having its own unique theme, and a quite appealing overall muted colour palette that really suits its overall styling. Character animations are strong, with one weakness perhaps the variety of different enemy types and some of those designs. A few of them just look, well, the 3D segments were a pleasant surprise, evoking feelings of Wind Waker as you move freely between the different floating archipelagos. Sure, it might not have quite the same aesthetic design, but this still has a sense of style with that classic PlayStation 32-bit aesthetic, and it mixes up the visual palette nicely. Performance for me has been rock solid, text size is decent, and load times are almost instantaneous. It performs just the same in docked or handheld modes, with I think handheld being my preferred way to play this one. I initially wasn't quite sure about the overall soundscape. The music is quite muted and low, with a heavier focus on environmental sounds and general ambience. But once I cranked the volume of the music all the way up to 10, I personally preferred that. It wasn't too loud, it just gave you that feeling of a little more life on each of the islands. Visuals and performance score 18 out of 20, sound and audio scores 17 out of 20. Vernal Edge will set you back £19.79 or your regional equivalent, but it's currently on a 10% discount until the 21st of March. Do I think it's worth you adding it to your backlog? Yes, I absolutely do. Having played it, if I knew it was this price, I'd be picking it right up. It's got something special about it, there's a unique feel. The combat's so much more interesting than a lot of Metroidvania games I've played, and I can see this gaining a real following. There is a physical coming for this one as well. And sure, look, there are a couple of missteps in the gameplay from time to time, but overall I came out incredibly impressed, and I think you will as well. Value scores 18 out of 20. Where on earth did Vernal Edge come from? But thanks to you guys for asking us to review it, it's certainly found pride of place on my Nintendo Switch. It gets a SwitchUp score of 89%. A lovely experience, and hats off to the very small development team, you've nailed it. If you enjoyed the content, then consider sticking around. Remember, we give away a free Switch game each and every month. No, it's like each and every week at the moment, isn't it? All you have to do is leave your normal comments and we'll let you know if you've won. Thanks to our Patreons and our members, and to all of you that enjoy the content. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!